This is the dark truth about
This is the
lobbies.
truth about Warzone bot lobbies. Have you ever turned on a YouTube video and thought to yourself, why don't their opponents shoot back? Well, I've had those same thoughts, and after months of frustration, I found 5 ways that people get easy lobbies. And in this
One of which is two boxing that I know. The other one's VPN. Those are the only two I know. I don't know any more than that. It's those two specifically I do know about.
this video, I'll be answering how each method works, can you tell if someone is using them, and explain why getting bot lobbies is actually part of a much bigger problem. So starting off with the first bot lobby method. Now people have been getting accused of using it since Verdansk, and the idea behind the method is quite simple. You confuse the matchmaking algorithm by giving the game a fake location for your house. When you connect to a match in Warzone, the game looks at many data points to decide what match to put you in. It looks at your connection to the server, the skill of you and your party, and many more things. But one of the most critical factors is the time to match. They don't want the queue time to take a long time because people would get bored and hop off the game. So for this first method, people download a third-party app that routes just your matchmaking data over a global virtual private network of servers. This is commonly called a VPN. And according to one of these third-party apps websites, this confuses the skill-based matchmaking system because the game assumes you'll have a high ping and it throws you into the closest lobby possible as fast as possible. Now, this
Which is funny because if you've ever seen me play Warzone, like my ping occasionally goes up to like 70, 80, 120, but I've never cheated or VPN'd in my life, ever. Like, you could say it however many times you want. I've had people come in and say I have, but I've never done a single thing of that in my life.
This all sounds great in theory, but does it work? Well, I used a VPN that someone recommended to me called SBMM Off. I have no affiliation with this program, and this is not advertising for them. I just want you to know exactly what I did, and I want everyone to see just how easy it is to manipulate matchmaking in Warzone. Now what I did was I found a server where the local time was in the morning from like 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. and I connected to that server under the strict setting. This strict setting apparently means that it forces the game to look for a lobby with players that only have open or moderate NAT types. I'm not sure how much of a difference this makes, but this is what was recommended to me. Now here's where things get tricky. Call of Duty closed down their API to the public, which is just a fancy way to say that websites like COD Tracker can no longer track stats and lobby strength for people who want to look it up. Now, this was definitely a calculated move by Activision because they don't want people to know how the matchmaking algorithm works, and they want people to be kept in the dark. But it makes testing bot lobbies almost impossible because we can't see the stats of the other players. So I decided for this video that if I could drop 40 or more kills playing solo quads, which I've never done under normal matchmaking, it would tell me that this method works. And lo and behold, after just a few hours of testing, I got an insane bot lobby.
Let's go for the 40. Holy.
Now, everyone's definition of a bot lobby is different, and it definitely depends on your own skill level, but some of the factors that stick out to me are this. First, you can stand out in the open and shoot at people for free without getting shot in the back, like I'm doing here.
True.
Second is that many players don't have good awareness and apparently don't hear footstep audio at all, like this guy. And finally, a lot of players just seem to panic when you shoot at them, and they don't really shoot back. Now, there's definitely other hints that you're in a bot lobby, but basically you can just run around out in the open all day and hardly get shot at. Now, like I said, I have never had a 40 kill game in normal matchmaking, and transparently, I've been struggling for weeks in solo quads just to get 20 kills. So dropping a game like this just a few hours after turning the VPN on tells me that this method probably works, even though I can't see the data for the lobby strength. Now, one thing I will say is that after testing for several hours, I definitely didn't get bot lobbies every time. I actually got some sweaty matches too. I would just say that the variety of matches that I got was much higher and more random than normal. And what's crazy about the VPN method is it's pretty much undetectable if you're doing it. The only thing that changes is your geolocation in the game. So for instance, if I connect to the Philippines, my location in the game changes to that, but my ping stays the same. So in order to know if someone was doing this, you have to see their geolocation or their task manager to see if they're running a VPN program. So given that it's pretty easy to set this VPN up and fairly undetectable, I would imagine that a lot of people are doing it, which the host of the biggest Warzone podcast seems to agree with.
Like from everything that I've heard from everybody, chat, obviously we're in the scene, we hear like 95% of the Rebirth community VPNs. Let's just be honest, right?
Now this next bot lobby method might be even better because I smashed my 40 kill goal in this gameplay here while using it. Now if you remember in the last method, I sent my matchmaking data far away to a VPN server to confuse the matchmaking algorithm, and the game connected me to a server near my house, which kept my ping low. Well, for this new method, I don't connect to a server near my house. I force the game to connect me to a server in a location that I choose.
What?
This is called geofencing. And the idea behind this is that not only are you sending your matchmaking data to a VPN server across the world, but you're also restricting the game servers that you can connect to, so you're breaking the matchmaking algorithm even more. Now there's a few
people actually do this. People actually find out about this and they actually physically do it. I don't think it's the cheating that hurts. It's the fact that people find out about this, they learn how to do it, and then they do it.
Few ways to do this. Some routers like the NetDuma allow you to go into the settings and draw shapes on a map, and your router won't let the game connect you to a server that is outside of the location that you draw. But another way to do this is to just use a third-party app, and that's what I did for my tests. I used SBMM off once again, and I connected to a VPN server where it was early in the morning, and then I set up a geofence to the west coast. Now I live closer to the East Coast and I normally connect to these servers here, but with the geofence, I forced the game to connect me to the West Coast servers. If you remember from the last gameplay, my ping in that game was in the 30s, which is pretty normal for me, but when I geofenced to the West Coast servers in this game, I was getting 60 or about double. Now I was actually a bit surprised that it wasn't even higher, and I'm not sure the exact location of the server that I connected to, but my ping is usually not this high. Now, like I mentioned before, it's impossible to know the lobby strength that we get nowadays because the data isn't available, but I would say that using a VPN and geofence gave me similar type.
Sorry, not to take away from this video, but when you land at a loadout chest, you see it, you want to grab it, but if you try to grab it and someone's behind you and starts shooting you, that's the worst thing ever.
Just using a VPN. I got some sweaty lobbies, and I got what seemed like some easier lobbies. And after a couple of hours of using this method, I got very close to dropping 50 kills in solo quads.
He's at 44 right now. Oh no. He had a pistol and he didn't know what to do.
Man.
Nicely done.
Holy, new PR with the VPN geofence. Let's go.
So I would have to say that this method also works because it would have to be an insane coincidence to get this many kills when I've never dropped more than 40 kills in normal matchmaking. And just like the last method, it's not really possible to tell if someone is doing this unless you see their geolocation or if you notice that their ping is always really high.
And I'm not saying people can't drop high kill games in solo quads, but what I'm saying is when people aren't shooting back, and you see people's gameplays on YouTube and you don't see anyone ever shoot back, that's when it's questionable. It's like, if you see me play, I get shot at everywhere. I'm literally a walking target, right? I got the big bullseye on my body or on the operator, and I get full on sent. But when no one else is shooting at anyone in their YouTube videos, it's kind of
but even then, that doesn't really tell you anything because sometimes the game does connect you to servers that are far away. Now, one major downside to using the geofence was that the queue times between games took significantly longer. Sometimes the queue time was more than 5 minutes and I could hardly find a match, but then other times it was more normal. Now, I don't know exactly what causes that. It could be the time of day that I was playing and where I was geofencing, but I'm not exactly sure. Okay, the next bot lobby method is one that's been covered quite a bit on YouTube, and I actually made a video about this a few months ago, so I'll go through it quickly. But basically, ever since Warzone added map rotations to Resurgence, if you complete a match and then stay in the game until the very end, the game puts you back on the map that you just played, even if a new map is up on the rotation. And what this means is you tend to play a lot of people that are AFK, and in general, it seems like the skill level of these players is much lower. Now, quads wasn't available for my tests, so I had to play trios, but I tested this a few times, and it definitely seemed like staying in the lobby gave me significantly easier matches every time. Now, I didn't drop 40 kills using this method, but trios plays different from quads. It's much easier to accidentally wipe a team since there's only 3 players, so the pacing was something that I really wasn't used to. It was also pretty time consuming to have to wait each time for a new game, so after getting this 34 kill win and seeing that the players in these lobbies were oftentimes AFK, and a lot of them weren't really aware of what was going on, I would say that this method works too.
But even when you back out of a game and you're waiting for the next game to start, so like when you back out entirely, like let's say you hide your screen, for example, you hit play, if you wait late to jump out of the plane, and you drop, you can easily get 7 kills off rip wherever these guys land, because they're still floating in the air waiting to, I guess, come back to the game, if you will. So you
just
can
for
still
reference,
drop
the game right
7
before
kills
this
right
one,
off the
which was
rip.
under normal matchmaking conditions,
Even
I was
if you
only
don't
able to get 10 kills
go
and got
AFK.
7th place. Now I want to get to the 4th bot lobby method, but before I do that, I have to discuss the big problem that I mentioned earlier, and that's hidden matchmaking algorithms. When you queue into a game of Warzone, you have no idea how sweaty the lobby is and who you're playing against, because Activision doesn't want you to know how their matchmaking works. And this creates a feeling of unpredictability because your in-game performance varies greatly from day to day. Some days you're frying, and other days you're absolutely in the blender. But it also creates a lot of frustration because you don't know how your skill is being evaluated, so you can't tell if you're improving at the game. And maybe even worse than all of that is when games use hidden matchmaking systems, it becomes easier for people to abuse them without anyone knowing. Now, there are many schools of thought on how matchmaking in Warzone should work and whether or not there should be skill-based matchmaking in pubs. And I don't really have the answer for the perfect system, but what I think we should all agree on is that we need more transparency. Back when Warzone had a publicly available API,
and I know he's going to mention this because I can see it right here, is the fact that we're not able to, since the end of first Warzone, when we lost Verdansk and we end up going into not Caldera, it was after Caldera, it was Urzikstan. We haven't been able to see our stats, like the lobby that we were in, what we dropped, what we, like, everything here we have not been able to see since after Caldera. And the fact that they haven't brought that back, I really wish they were able to do it for Modern Warfare 2, Warzone, and then current Warzone now. Because trying to see where you could improve and where you started to decline in improvement really did tell, okay, that lobby was sweaty versus not sweaty, right? How many kills you had, your KD right there, what place you placed in, like which thing you were in, whether it's BR duos, Resurgence, or anything like that. This was definitely an amazing thing and a tool to have. Why they got rid of it and why we don't use it,
and you could track your performance to see if you're getting better. You could also check your favorite streamers and see what lobbies they were getting, so you could compare your performance to them. Now, this did lead to a lot of witch hunts and people accusing others of VPNing and getting easier lobbies, but that happens nowadays without these websites anyways. The point is, you could at least see the data and make your own decisions. I strongly believe that Warzone should make the API data available again, because you should be able to look up and see who you're playing against in the game.
You can see your own stats, yes, but you can't see, you can only see the past 10 games, but not anything further than that. So if I wanted to see how well I did the day before and compare it to the next day, that's the only thing you can't compare it to. I think that's the downside to it.
Now, at the end of the day, there are always going to be people who try to get easier lobbies, whether they're a content creator looking to get more views, or someone who just got home from their job and wants to relax without sweating. And what I hope you see from this video is that public matches are very easy to manipulate in Warzone, and it's very difficult to know if someone is doing it. So I just don't think that you can really take pubs seriously in Warzone. And in all reality, that's how gaming should be anyways. Pubs for fun and ranked for competitive. At least that's what I believe. And with that said, let's get on to the 4th bot lobby method. Now, I don't know this for sure, but I would guess that this method is the most popular right now because out of the other ones that I tested, this one felt like it gave easier lobbies the most consistently. So one of the factors that Warzone looks at when you're queuing in for a match is the skill level of your party. The higher the overall skill of you and your friends, the more sweaty lobbies you get. So in theory, if you play with really bad players, you can get easier matches. And that's where this 4th bot lobby method comes in. First, you have to have a second PC or a console, and then you create a brand new account to use on this device. Next, you join a few matches with this account, and you don't get any kills, and you try to die as much as possible to give this account really bad stats. And then once you've done this once or twice, you use this bot account to search for a match, and while you're searching, you join with your main account. And theoretically, you should get easier lobbies because the stats of this bot account will decrease the overall skill-based matchmaking. And then once you're in the lobby, you can just have the bot account leave the game, and now you just have your main account and you can get your gameplay. Now, the theory behind this is pretty simple, and people call this the 2-box method, but it was actually more complicated, and this didn't work for me at first. I wasn't sure how bad this bot account needed to be for the 2-box method to work, so I first used a second account that I've had for quite a while for filming YouTube videos, and I quickly found out that these stats weren't low enough to get me into the bot.
So what's funny, and I'm not trying to pause too much, I really want to play it out, but I found out that if you have even higher than a 1 KD, or if you had a 1 KD and higher, you're basically in the top 5-10% of all player base, like of all the players in this game. If you're below that, then obviously it is what it is. You suck. You just have to get better, kind of thing. But if you have higher than a 1 KD, you are actually in the top 5 to 10% of all players. And I have a 1.6, and I can show that after, but I have a 1.6, and I'm not gloating, but how does that make me in the top 5-10%?
I had actually forgotten that I had used this account to play a little bit of multiplayer, so I think the stats were too high. So what I did was I created a third account, and then I played 1 or 2 games of Resurgence, and I made sure not to get any kills, and then I tried to die as much as possible. Now I would show you the stats for this account, but you actually have to be a level 10 to be able to see them, so I'm actually not sure what they are. But once I started using this brand new account with the second account and then my main account, I started getting a lot of bot lobbies, and the difference was night and day. I definitely think that if I did this consistently, I could get 50 kills or maybe even a 60 bomb with the right lobby. Because for this test, I only played using this 2-box method for a morning of games, and I was able to get more than 40 kills, which was the benchmark for my test.
I could have res and at least got 45.
New PR, let's go.
One thing that I think is important to know is that even when you get bot lobbies, you still have to be pretty good at the game to get 40s and 50s and higher on Rebirth.
True.
You basically have to fly around the map at full speed and put yourself in really bad situation to get that many kills. So to get the types of high kill games that you typically see on YouTube, you really need 3 things. First, you need to have a lot of skill. Second, you need to get a bot lobby. And third, you do have to have a little bit of luck. There's plenty of players out there that have a lot of skill, but they don't get many bot lobbies, so they'll never put up numbers like the people that you see on YouTube using these methods. But on the flip side, there's also a lot of people who think they have a lot of skill, and if you put them in these same lobbies, they're probably only going to get 15 or 20 kills. Now, like the other methods, I would say that this one is also pretty easy to hide. For instance, if you're streaming, you can just hide your screen in between matches, or you can pre-record yourself queuing into a normal match and then just play this to trick people. So once again, it's pretty much impossible to know if someone is doing this without the lobby stats. Okay, moving on to bot lobby method number 5. Now, I originally didn't want to
talk. What I say? I did say VPN, and I did say 2-box. I didn't say AFK, but I knew about that one. I didn't know about geofence. This is something app. I don't... App.
Talk about this method because it's actually banned by Activision, but I still see a lot of people on social media talking about it, so here it goes. There's a third-party app that you can get through a private Discord server where it shows you the lobby stats for your game. So basically you can do what's called lobby surfing, where you join a game, check the stats, and then you leave if the match is too sweaty. And when you do this enough times, you do eventually get easier lobbies because Warzone doesn't strictly use skill-based matchmaking. They use engagement optimized matchmaking, which means even the sweatiest players get bot lobbies every once in a while. But just to be clear, I've never used this app or downloaded it, but there are some YouTube videos out there that do show what it can do, so I am aware of it, but I've never used it. Now, I do think that people should know the stats of their lobbies, but this app is bannable because it reads the memory of the game to get this data, so I would highly recommend that you don't download it or use it because it's just not worth it. But even when you get a bot lobby, you have to have the correct controller sensitivity to have good aim so that you can get a lot of kills. And you can check out what controller sensitivity I recommend by going to this video.
Nice, and leads it to the next one. So I think I was told about this app like almost like close to a year ago. Someone came in and was like, "Oh, did you know you can check out the stats of the lobby even before you play?" I'm like, "What?" Like, I didn't want to get into it, and they dropped the Discord link. I never joined it, but here's what I did, and this is honest to God, like hand to it. I clicked it because I'm like, you know what? Let me just look at it. Let me just see. I looked at it, but it never allowed me in because I guess there's too many people in the server at the time, which is fine. But I've never gone back to it. In fact, I don't even know where the link is. I don't have it. I'm not part of it. He does identify a lot of good things. Well, not good things, but he does identify a lot of things that pertain to bot lobbies and how people get them. It just seems as if you're not transparent about you being in a bot lobby, you're kind of defeating the purpose as a creator or entertainer or a content creator, however you want to put yourself. If you're not disclosing it that you are doing it for content reasons, that's misleading to the people who want to watch you or who would want to watch you. If you're just playing and saying, "Oh, I get bot lobbies every time, I get bot lobbies every time," you're a very misleading person, right? If you disclose it, you're good, right? Because you at least disclosed it, and 9 times out of 10, your games, they are legitimate. If you're never gonna disclose it, you're basically, you suck, because it means that your KD, how skilled you are, it isn't true. He makes good points in this video, but that you think there'd be ways around this. Bot lobbies, man. What are we gonna do about that?